What's going on, guys? Jerry Neutron here, back with a brand new video. Today on the review table we have another graphics card, this one from XFX. This is the RX 470 4GB edition. So today we're going to take a look at this card as well as these hard swap fans that XFX sent me. These are actually interchangeable with the stock fans that come on the graphics card. So if you like LED lit fans, they've got them in blue, red, and white. So we're going to take a look at those along with the performance of the graphics card, and then of course in the conclusion I will let you guys know exactly what I think. So let's go ahead and get into the review. So this is the XFX RX 470 4GB model. It's also the black edition, meaning it's factory overclocked. As you can see, it's got a black fan shroud with dual 90mm fans, and the nice thing about these is they just pop right out. So if you ever need to replace a failed fan, you can do so without having to RMA your entire card. Just underneath that, you can see the unibody heatsink, which not only cools the GPU, but the VRMs as well, along with 3 copper heat pipes for dissipating heat, and a single 6-pin PCIe connector for powering the card. If we flip the RX 470 over, you can see this model has an aluminum backplate with XFX branding, which covers up that ugly PCB, and personally I think this is a nice touch for a card in this price range. On the I/O side, we get 3 DisplayPort 1.4 connectors, 1 HDMI 2.0B, and 1 dual-link DVI-D, so you get full support for all of the latest display technology. As for lighting, this card does not come with any RGB lighting like most cards on the market today. If you want some type of lighting to match your build, XFX makes these hard swap fans, which you can use in place of your factory ones to add some lighting to your card. Right now, they're only available in single colors, red, white, and blue. So you simply grab the clips on the old fan, pop it out, pop these new ones in, and now you have LED lit fans. I would have preferred the card to come stock with RGB lighting, but it's not a make or break deal for me, so if this ultimately leads to cheaper cards, I'm okay with XFX going this route. Now moving on to performance, spec-wise this card is based on the Polaris architecture and it features 2048 stream processors, a 1256 MHz boost clock, no listed base clock, although according to AMD, the reference base clock is 926 MHz, a 1750 MHz memory clock, and 4 GB of VRAM on a 256-bit bus. One new thing that Polaris brings to the table is the inclusion of a base clock and boost clock. When certain conditions are met, the card will increase its clock speed beyond the base clock and up to the listed boost clock, but will not go beyond it like NVIDIA cards do. In testing this RX 470, the clock speed seemed to fluctuate within 100 MHz of the maximum boost clock, depending on the game and settings. If you guys click on the card in the top right corner, it'll take you to a video on my second channel of me playing GTA 5, where you can get a glimpse of the clock speed behavior. This card also features a 0 dB fan mode, which by default is active up until temps reach 55 degrees Celsius. In my case, the InWin 303, the card seemed to idle just 2 to 3 degrees below that, which meant the fans cycled on and off pretty often. Fans weren't loud at all while running, so I chose to set a custom fan curve instead and just have the fans run constantly at a low RPM around idle. Your mileage may vary though, depending on ambient temps and case selection. On the other end, while gaming, I saw max GPU temps of 77 degrees Celsius after about 15 minutes. And speaking of gaming, let's go ahead and dive into the benchmarks. Here are the specs of my test system. I'm running an i7 4790K and 16 GB of RAM, which should allow the card to perform at its maximum potential. It's also worth noting that I run all of my benchmarks on the highest preset or max settings, or as close as reasonably possible. I do this regardless of the card being tested to show how it performs in a worst case scenario, so just keep that in mind when looking at the benchmarks. I also added some results from Battlefield 1 and Overwatch, which are not a part of my normal testing suite, but I added them because I thought they were relevant for a card of this tier. So as you can see, the card performs pretty well, being able to max out most games at 1080p. In some more graphic intense titles, you may need to lower or disable AA if you want to maintain a 60 FPS average, but for the majority, you can simply crank the settings up and game on. It also easily outperforms last generation 200-ish dollar cards while being cheaper, which is nice. Now the 4 gigabytes of VRAM didn't seem to be much of an issue with the games I tested, using around 2.5 to 3.5 gigabytes at 1080p, although it's difficult to say whether this will become an issue a generation or two from now. One immediate thing you may notice is your inability to enable HD texture packs in certain games due to the amount of VRAM on your card, but of course that will vary based on the games you play. Now as far as my recommendation, I do like this XFX card, although you'll probably be just fine picking up the non-factory overclocked version. In fact, that card can be had right now for around 170 bucks, which is a great price for a card in this performance tier. If you're someone considering a GTX 1050 Ti and you're looking at partner cards around the $150 price point, I would highly encourage you to spend the extra 20 bucks and grab the RX 470, and you'll see a pretty worthwhile increase in performance. So that's about it, guys. Like this video if you enjoyed this type of content. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Neutron. And until next time, see ya.